Hey guys, I'm Jyoti Vashish, UR13 CS72, and this is the program for integer stack using demonstrating exception handling. So there are two types of exceptions, and they are that is uh, that is predefined exceptions and user defined exceptions. So I have basically created over here three types of user defined exceptions, and I will show you how. And for the implementation of integer stack over here, I provide the user with three options, that is push elements, pop elements, and view the stack elements. So over here, as you can see, this is a predefined exception. This is thrown every time you do not enter any element. So as you can see, these exceptions are handled using try and catch block. Try is the code. Try handles the code which might throw an exception, and catch handles the exception itself. So here, as you can see over here, overflow exception is also a predefined exception. And over here, when the user enters any element which has been stored in J, try pass method checks if the integer entered or whatever is entered is an integer or not. If it is an integer, it is stored in V, or else it will come over here. If this operation, that is if we enter a non-integer value for more than 3 times or almost 3 times, then an overflow exception is thrown, or else a non-integer value exception is thrown, that is a user defined exception. So over here, these exceptions I throw exception using the throw keyword, that is the new exception, and then I have passed this message which will be displayed every time this exception is thrown. I handle them using the catch block as over here, and then these are the I've just created objects and called functions, pop and view stack. So over here, whenever a input whenever an input is given, that does not have any function call or whatever, I throw a not supported exception, that is a predefined exception. That is to say that the input or the variable which you have entered is perfectly fine, but there is no operation supporting that variable. So over here, this is the stack class which implements the stack, and as you can see, every time the top variable goes above 9, that is from 0 to 9, it almost has 10 elements. Max stack limit, that is a user defined exception, is thrown, or else the element is just added onto the stack. And over here, as you can see, index out of range exception is thrown every time the index of the array goes out of bounds. So pop function does the same whenever the value of top goes under, like goes below 0, whenever that is to say, whenever you try to delete an element, delete elements from an empty stack, this type of exception would be thrown, that is stack is empty, stack empty, and this is a user defined exception. So as you can see, these are the three user defined exception, and they all have been created like this. They inherit from application exception, and they have their own constructor. So every time I pass a message over here, it will be displayed as you can see in the calculator. So when I run it, I get the following display. So let's try to push the variable. So let's say we enter an non-integer value. So when I enter 8, it shows me non-integer value. This is a user defined exception. And when I try to delete any element, as you can see, I have not added any element to the stack over here. So when I delete any element, I see it throws an exception saying stack empty exception, stack is empty, cannot delete. So now let's try the third exception which I had written. So for that I need to enter 10 elements. So let's enter 10 elements. Yeah, so this is going to be the final element. So when I enter it, it's perfectly fine. But then when now I enter to when I try to enter any more element into the stack, yeah, as you can see, it throws an exception saying max stack limit, stack limit, reach, cannot add any more elements. So this was exception handling. Thank you.